So today we have Stardust versus Eris on Deradicalizing Your Friends. Let's go ahead and read this. Being friends with someone, and this is totally out of the blue. I don't know what the hell caused this for Stardust here. But being friends with someone to, quote, deradicalize them is like a religious fundy being friends with you to convert you. It's shitty and unbearable. Would you like it? So we have a lot going on here. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I kind of want to break this down a little bit. I think it could use some expanding upon. Being friends with someone to deradicalize them. So this being could be like becoming friends with someone to deradicalize them. If you're doing that, that's like a problem, right? In the same way that if you're religious and you only become friends with somebody to convert them, that's bad. But there is friendship for deradicalizing, friendship for converting to a religion, and then there is friendship and deradicalizing, friendship and converting somebody to your religion. Now, you may have problems with both of these things, but they're fundamentally different. One, the entire purpose is to complete the deradicalization, to complete the conversion to some kind of religion. And when you're going out and your entire purpose is that, friendship is merely a mechanism. It's merely a means to accomplish that end. That is fundamentally different from going out and being friends with people and then making some effort to de-radicalize them or making some effort to expose them to your religion or your religious ideals, right? Completely different. Because in this situation, the main goal is going to be to make friends with somebody. And in the first situation, the main goal is to de-radicalize or to convert them to your religion, right? Very, very different. And again, you can be unhappy that people are trying to convert their friends to their religion at all, in which case you'll have a problem with both of these. But even if that is the boat that you're in, that you don't think you should be actively trying to de-radicalize your friends or trying to convert them religiously or trying to impact any of their fundamental ideas, even if you believe that, you would probably have to grant me that this situation is worse than this situation here. Because this situation here is an incidental thing that you've embarked upon after already seeking friendship. And then the other one is you're seeking friendship for the sake of doing the thing that you don't like, right? So I don't think that that's super clear here, because if we read it, being friends with someone to de-radicalize them sounds very different than a religious fundy being friends with you to it's not super clear here. And what's being asked of Stardust with a lot of the people that she's friends with, who people think are radical, who people think believe in ideas that are awful and whatever, they're not expecting her to befriend people for the purpose of doing this thing. Nobody is saying that, right? Nobody is suggesting that she only becomes friends with people for the purpose of de-radicalizing them. The fact is that she's already friends with those people. So that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about being friends with someone to de-radicalize them or continuing to be friends with someone to de-radicalize them. That's not at all what we're talking about. So let's put that to the side here. But that is the framing that she's giving here. And that's why I feel like either she's written this in a way where she is actively misconstruing what people are asking of her, or another possibility is that maybe she's just written it incorrectly and doesn't see the huge difference between those things. But in any case, she doesn't fall into bucket number one. She falls into bucket number two. She's already friends with people who are radical, who hold ideas that we would probably want them to change as like a general lefty community and whatever. And so what she's being asked is to make some steps or make some efforts to de-radicalize the people that she's friends with, right? Or a lot of other people say that she shouldn't be friends with them at all if she is not trying to de-radicalize them. But even in that case, it's not the same as what she's framing it as here. The way that she's kind of construing, I think, a lot of the criticisms of her, I didn't really enjoy seeing. And so I wanted to kind of, make this note here. I feel like this is a really weird equivocation. Constantly trying to convert someone to your religion sounds a bit different than trying to convince someone not to hate black people. So I had my initial thoughts, which I've explained to you when I read her initial tweet. When I read Eris's tweet, Eris took it in a whole different direction, and we all have different viewpoints. So what Eris focuses on is, and if we have a multi-part thing where friendship is either for or and deradicalizing, friendship is either for or and converting to a religion, rather than focusing on that for and distinction, what Eris is focused on is the things at the end. So the difference between deradicalizing someone and converting them to a religion. And she's going to focus on that there. So she says that, that equivocating or comparing those two things is not good. And I don't know if we're equivocating. I hate equivocation. I hate the word and stuff, but maybe it's because it gets me in trouble a lot. The point is that it's a really superficial reason for being friends with someone. And this is another thing where I read it and I'm like, okay, it seems that Stardust is like misunderstanding what people are asking of her, or is turning it into something where it's a lot easier to fight against. Nobody is telling her to like be friends with people to deradicalize them, or that this should be her reason for being friends with them. I don't think that's what's like going on here, but but hating black people is more like, and again, like, the reason why I'm focusing on the for and distinction is because that's where Stardust's attention is. So if I show you my notes real quick, which I think might be a helpful little exercise here, and we take a look. So I think that we have Eris focusing here. And if we wanted to, we can kind of edit this and say maybe conversion. So where Eris is focusing, and I'll go ahead and make her a color, we'll give her green. Eris is focusing here. And where Stardust and I think myself are focusing is here. This distinction between for or and. And this is causing us to like get lost in these tweets with each other, because while Stardust is talking at this wavelength between these two words and the distinction between them, Eris is focusing on the difference between these two things and that distinction there. And let's see if they go ahead and rectify that. Let's see if they figure out that one is talking about the distinction here of being friends for doing something, or being friends and doing something, or if they're focused on this deradicalizing and conversion thing. It goes on with Aristocracy saying, but hating black people is more slimy. So again, we're focused on this distinction between the religion thing and the deradicalization thing. And Stardust says, of course it is, but the other person isn't going to be swayed anyways if it feels like you're not friends with them for a genuine reason. So again, focusing on this, at least here, she also gives something to Eris's side, because if Eris is focused on that side of the argument, if we go here, what Stardust is then saying underneath here is that we cannot be successful in this if it's not real, right? And this is giving some kind of understanding about the difference between these two things. If you want the deradicalizing thing, if you think it's gross or slimy that people are one way or the other, just know that you can't be successful at that thing if you're not real with them from the beginning. And I'll make, if it's not real, the other color here, which I believe is blue. Right. And so we have a good combination argument here from Stardust that is taking these two things into account. And yes, I'm going to be this level of precise about talking about this, because I love this exchange, because it was so clear that we're talking at two different frequencies. And I wanted to see who is making the effort to kind of move between these two points of view here. And so far, it's only Stardust. Aristocracy says, so the argument is that it's not effective or shitty. So Stardust, Aristocracy doesn't understand anything here. I don't know, like, it's shitty and unbearable to do this for thing, that I am going to go ahead and be friends with you for the purpose of deradicalizing you, and that is shitty. This is the part that is shitty. The part that's shitty is doing friendship for this purpose, right? But I don't feel like Eris is making it clear to me that that's where she's understanding that. So I don't know. So the argument is that it's not effective or shitty. Like, the reason she's mentioning the non-effective thing is because we're developing. We're trying to add to the, like, I don't know. I really didn't like the way Aristocracy engaged here. It feels like she's not listening to what Stardust is talking about. I also think you can see someone's other good qualities, and because of those qualities specifically, think it's worth trying to deradicalize. I don't do it anymore, but that was often the logic when I did it. So we have something here. That you could possibly see somebody's other good qualities, and because of those qualities specifically, it's worth trying to deradicalize. But this seeing someone else's good qualities, I guess that is a replacement for friendship or whatever, but like, it's just not quite there. Then Stardust says, my point is that when you're friends with someone, you want that friendship to be genuine, not conditional on the basis that you are going to get something out of people. Right. So if you will stop being friends with them if they don't deradicalize, then she has a problem with that. I wouldn't want to be friends with someone if their main goal of it was to steer me away from liberalism. And then we broaden it a little bit more. Main goal. So if more of your attention is focused on deradicalizing me than it is on being friends with me, then I'm not really interested here. Aristocracy responds, again, I really don't think trying to deradicalize someone and potentially save others' lives and create a net good is getting something out of someone. Just makes it sound like deradicalization is a selfless act, like being a gold digger. Like, this just keeps spiraling here. The point is that it would feel selfish to the person that is on the receiving end of this deradicalization. Exactly. So Mindwaves gets it, jumps in, points to the feeling of the person who is going through this, the person who is the subject of the deradicalization. Eris continues, well, their morals are obviously flawed since they hate black people. A person who hates black people is probably not going to be friends with me in the first place. Hey, you never know. Plus, I don't see it as so different compared to Flamenco, who is at the Unite the Right rally cheering Jews will not replace us. And then the main thing comes out. So now we got a problem with Flamenco. We've name dropped Flamenco, and the elephant in the room is addressed. Yeah, as I've said before, if he was there, it's cringe, and he knows I think it's cringe. It's more than cringe. And like, here's another thing that I have a problem with Stardust, just to balance things out. So I'm giving critiques on both sides here. The minimization and the kind of over broadening that is happening in this conversation bothers me. That we pretend like the calls for you to work somewhat at deradicalizing the people that you're spending a ton of time with, to misconstrue that as we want you to be friends with someone for the sole purpose of deradicalizing them, that's shitty to me. But another shitty thing here is, like, we're constantly like using language to kind of soften what's going on here. I think it's a bit more than cringe, especially if this is all correct. So if Flamenco went to the Unite the Right rally and cheered Jews will not replace us, that's bad. Now, this Unite the Right rally cheering could mean that it's other people cheering and Flamenco just happened to be there. But, like, it's not really challenged here in the Stardust tweet at all. She doesn't challenge that this isn't real or this didn't happen. She just says that if that did happen, that's cringe. And Eris has already showed that when she's focused on something like gross or slimy, like slimy here, she's going to push on it. So I don't think it's like a very smart thing to use cringe here, because she's going to jump on it. And she does jump on it. And then after that, we have, it's obviously more than cringe. Insert any negative word you would like. I don't always have the best vocabulary, so at least she's taking an L, I guess. It's okay. Yeah, me either. Cringe is just a word I often think of as something that feels embarrassing. Okay. And then it stops. and then it stops, which is good. And if they had a conversation after this, then that's cool to hear. I thought it would be a basic thing to break down, like where different people are focused and where we're giving some kind of concession to both sides or trying to work the perspectives in, and why it's so important to really work at listening. More than 80 or 90% of your effort in an argument, in a conversation, in a debate, I think more than 80 or 90% of it should be not focused on your arguments, not focused on getting your points across as effectively as possible or whatever. I think it needs to be spent on listening, because most of us are bad listeners. We are. I think humans are naturally worse listeners than they are speakers. And we already are aware of how bad other people are at speaking, so that should say something about how bad we are at listening. So because of that, I think you should really offset the deficit and try and spend a lot of your time on listening and really try to figure people out, especially on a platform like Twitter. There is no clock hanging over your head that says that you need to reply immediately to anything that's going on here. And you only have so many characters that you have to look through to try and critically analyze what it is that they're talking about. So you're set up for a slam dunk of trying to understand the other person. We often talk about how on Twitter it's very difficult to communicate because of the character limits and stuff like that. But if we really slow down and engage slowly with each other, if every time you went to go do a Twitter reply, you took like a mandatory 5 minutes to read and really think about what the other person is saying, I actually think it would be fine. I think a lot of the communication on there would be fine. And if it is too complicated to either communicate your idea or to understand the other person's idea, then you ask a question or you invite them to go speak somewhere else. It sounds like these two people wound up in some kind of interview outside of this, likely doing long form content where they're speaking with each other, right? So I don't know, just a little bit of an encouragement to you, whether it's text messages, tweets, arguments, whatever. Just take a little bit more time and energy and spend it on listening. Spend it on trying to understand what the other person is talking about. Break it down if you have to. Write this on a napkin. What is it that we're talking about? Where am I focused? Where is the other person focused? How can I bridge this gap, right? And then focus on that, because I think it'll lead to better outcomes. I was asking my Discord what kind of dono goals I should do, and they said that I should do a dono goal for just one game of League.